Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome into the Steven Singer Studios. I'm Marc Farzetta, and yes, also welcome into the Farzy Show. The Sixers, they need help. Obviously need help without Joel Embiid, and we established at great lengths yesterday that they need a lot of help without Shake Milton. And might I just make one suggestion, because I think from yesterday we found what they need, and what they need is bench help. And I'm just going to say this, Daryl Morey, Dave Zangaro from NBC Sports Philadelphia is still available. There's the intensity you need. There it is right there, Daryl Morey. That's what you need coming off the bench for you if you're not going to have Shake Milton and you're not going to have Joel Embiid. Now, by the way, the Daryl Morey, or excuse me, Doc Rivers came out after the game last night and said he doesn't expect this back tightness with Joel Embiid to be a long-lasting thing. It's just a couple of games here and there that's probably going to be bothering the big man, but it's not going to be something that's going to make him miss a significant amount of time, we hope. So that's fun. I do want to mention that going into last night's game, Doc Rivers also said that Dwight Howard had a death in the family. Was going to not even play, wasn't even going to be there. And then I guess once they figured out that Joel Embiid, in fact, wasn't going to play, Dwight Howard said, yeah, put me in, coach. So that was a nice little moment. But last night, the 76ers go out to get to the meat and potatoes of it all. They go out against a team in the Utah Jazz. This is the best record in the NBA, looking phenomenal. One of their key players, Mike Conley, is not playing. He's dealing with an injury right now, but they still had the vast majority of their healthy lineup out there. The key players, your Donovan Mitchell, obviously, and your Rudy Gobert. So no Joel Embiid, for me, as I said yesterday on the show, did not make me feel good about the Sixers winning this game, and obviously no Shake Milton. So going into it, I didn't expect the Sixers to win this game. Nothing that happened in this game surprised me, other than the fact that the Sixers actually hung with the Jazz a lot longer than I thought they would. They made a game of it. It was like a minute left in the game, and the Sixers are down like 5 points, and I couldn't believe that part of it. But they were in that position, because again, I didn't expect them to win, but they were in that position to win a game, to fight for a victory, maybe get a couple of bounces their way, a couple other shots fall. And maybe we're talking about something else today. Maybe we're talking about, oh my God, how they won this game without Joel Embiid and without Shake Milton, right? But one of the other conversation points that we're going to be talking about today is how well Ben Simmons played and how well Tobias Harris played, because both those guys played great. Tobias Harris did exactly what you want him to do without Joel Embiid in the lineup in terms of upping the points, obviously, rebounds, getting after it last night the way that he was, and also hitting some shots from beyond the arc. So that was great. But most notably, the lead, which other than the fact that they lost, is going to be how Ben Simmons played. And just following some social media, and we'll just do some more check-in later when we do the social media check-in. But, it's why can't Ben Simmons do this every night? And I'll answer that question for a lot of the fans that are just very frustrated. So I'll help you. Maybe if you're going into work today, maybe if you're going to be talking to some of your colleagues and they pose that, the answer's simple. He can't do that every night, because of a guy named Joel Embiid. The Sixers are a better team when Joel Embiid is having the night that Ben Simmons had last night in terms of being a leading scorer, big rebounder, creating offense and all that. They're a better team when Joel Embiid is doing that because he's the playmaker. Ben Simmons is the facilitator. If Ben is facilitating to guys that are better scorers than him, and by the way, Joel Embiid's a better scorer than him, I think we can all agree on that, then the Sixers are in a much better spot to advance throughout the East, whether that just be in the regular season and then obviously that be in the playoffs as well. So Ben Simmons can do that. He can be aggressive. He can attack the rim. The big difference in his game, if you look at his shot chart, for instance, I put it out last night during the show, during the game, when he hit 40 points, I put a shot chart out there. Everything was in or almost immediately outside the paint, as you would expect. But the best part of his game last night, it wasn't the dunks. It was the fact that he was hitting his foul shots. That's the Ben I'll take on a night where Joel Embiid is still playing. Because Ben can still do that. He can still attack the rim. He can still get fouled. He can still go to the line and make 11 of 12, 13 of 14 from the foul line. And he can do that on a consistent nightly basis. That's the type of Ben Simmons I want to see. Now, the reason that he can't do that with Joel Embiid is because the spacing. It's a very simple concept here. the spacing is not there. With Joel Embiid taking up a lot of the time and a lot of the room in the paint, you're not going to have the opportunity for Ben Simmons to drive the way that he was last night. But at least you could still maybe force contact by driving to the rim. Maybe you pull up with a jump shot every once in a while. Maybe you get contact there. And then, you know what you do? You start creating more spacing for your big man Joel Embiid at the same time. There's the most encouraging thing for me coming out of Ben Simmons' night, 40-plus points, good for you, glad to see it. But the biggest thing for me is seeing the foul shots and seeing him hit those, because if he starts to do that, we're talking about a legit scoring threat here, not just somebody that can score 15 to 18 points a game. You're then talking about somebody else along with Joel Embiid who's dropping 30 a night. You can look at Ben Simmons as a guy, oh, okay, so you're going to get 20 from Toby, you're going to get 30 from JoJo, and now you can get 20 from Ben Simmons. That makes you feel a lot better about the Sixers going forward, just knowing they have guys that can score like that, whether that be at the foul line or that be crashing the rim. But that also has to make Joel Embiid feel good about stepping out of the game for a second here, missing a game and letting Ben Simmons kind of take over a huge scoring role for this basketball team. For me, it comes down to not just the aggression, because we've seen that from Ben, but it comes down to more so the mentality in which he was playing. And I thought it was pretty interesting after the game last night when Ben Simmons was addressing the media, talking about how he's trying to change his thought process in how he approaches the game. Take a listen to this from Ben Simmons after the game.
He's been working on my mentality and my mental a lot these past few weeks. So I think my mindset is it's not easy to do that, change the way you play or, certain things in the game. That come natural for certain people. I feel like I'm figuring it out. Obviously, my scoring's been a lot higher in the last 5-6 games. So as long as I can keep doing that and stay locked in and keep working on my mental, I think it's scary.
Yeah, it is. It is. And that's exactly what you want to see. And that's exactly what you want to hear from Ben Simmons, that he's been working on that mental approach to the game, because that's the thing that has evaded him really throughout his career to this point. Do I hope this is a turning point for his career? Sure, great. But I can't help but also think that once he fell out of the top 10 in the All-Star voting, as we talked about last week, it's pretty obvious. The 5-6 games that he just talked about after the All-Star break after the All-Star numbers came out and he fell out of the top 10 voting, that's when his scoring started to go up. I don't think that's a coincidence. Now, whether that's motivation, whether that's vanity, I don't know. But I don't care. Whatever helps him mature, whatever helps his mental approach to the game, so we get a more consistent, aggressive Ben Simmons every single night. It was actually another question. That's fine. Whatever it is, whatever makes him play the way he did, fine. But after the game last night, he was also asked about how was this the most aggressive he's ever played a basketball game? And Ben just kind of smiled and was like, yeah, I try to always be aggressive. I understand what you're saying, but I know exactly what the reporter was at. I think it was Tim Bontemps of ESPN. But we saw it play out last night with Ben. And we see that occasionally him attack the rim the way that he did. And I was talking to our producer, Jim Hyden, right before the show, and I told him the safest bet you could have made last night was Ben Simmons making the over. And as soon as for his own personal over in points, as soon as I saw his first driving dunk in the first quarter where he had 19 points in the first quarter, I said to myself, I'm an idiot. I should have made that bet. Ben Simmons on the over against the Jazz with Donovan Mitchell. Obviously, no Joel Embiid, but with Donovan Mitchell and their own little personal rivalry there's no doubt in my mind he was going to go over his over. I don't even know what it was last night. It had to be maybe 21 points, maybe 20 with Joel Embiid being out. Maybe it moved up a little bit. But to me, maybe 22 points, excuse me. For me, it was the safest bet you could have made. I feel like an idiot for not making that bet. But with watching him play and watching him attack, watching him drive through the paint the way that he was, reckless abandon, no fear, all that, and then go to the line and shoot as well as he did there. That's the mental hurdle that Ben has had to get over throughout his career. And they even made it a point of it on the broadcast the other night. Mark Zumoff was talking about how his free throw percentage has gone up ever so slightly every single year. Well, he went into the last night shooting about 64%. So seeing a guy that can shoot 64% miss one free throw throughout the course of a game when you're 11 for 12, I'll take that. because that's what can help the Sixers down the line in the playoffs when you need it most. And if that is the mental hurdle he's trying to get over, yeah, let's hope that last night was the beginning of him finally getting over that mental hurdle. Something else that I thought was interesting from last night's game, again, goes back to Tobias Harris. And I know you're going to need bench points, and I think Matisse Thybulle hit a late 3, which was fine. Furkan Korkmaz hasn't really given you much over the last couple of games. He looked a little out of control last night. But Tobias Harris has to be the other consistent scorer on this team, and I am still looking at him like he is a guy that's threatening to make his first All-Star team. I don't think he'll actually do it, unfortunately. But I know Ben will be taking up the headlines today, and it'll be the Sixers lose, but Ben. No, it's not about but Ben. It's not about taking a moral victory out of a loss like that, because ultimately it's still one of the best teams in the NBA. Sure, you hung with them without your best player in Joel Embiid. And yeah, there's obviously positive signs you could take. But when you do see somebody like Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons come out and play the way they did last night, knowing they didn't have Joel Embiid, it does make you feel good about these guys maybe taking it to the next level when it comes the most important possible time, which is the playoffs. I did want to get into this real quick. We're going to have Hugh Douglas join us here on this fine HUGHSDAY here on this Tuesday. And we're going to get into some football things. Jason Kelsey, as you would assume. When does an athlete really start contemplating retirement? We'll ask Hugh Douglas about that. But something else came out yesterday, and I felt this was awesome. The Bears apparently are the team that are making the bigger push right now for than the Indianapolis Colts for Carson Wentz. And last week, we talked about Ron Jaworski's report from his sources around the league that said that the Colts were offering as much as 2 second-round picks, maybe a third, maybe a fourth, for Carson Wentz. So now the story comes out, I believe it's from Albert Breer of NFL Network, who came out and said that the Bears are now the team that have been more aggressive in their pursuit of Wentz, saying that they have put the Colts in the rearview mirror. However, Carson has to want to go to Chicago. So right now, all this could be, a big part of it could be, that Carson has to convince the Bears that he wants to go. This isn't just, oh, yeah, anywhere but Philly. Hey, Chicago wants you. Well, maybe not anywhere. And I'm not saying that as a knock on Chicago. I'd be saying if it was any other team. But the fact that Carson's own input is going to have a lot to do with this trade, which isn't a shock by any means, but it could help you up that second or first round pick type of status in order to get Carson Wentz back, or in order to get Carson Wentz out of Philadelphia and into Chicago or wherever he's got to go. So if the Bears are about to have a conversation with Carson Wentz, or if Howie Roseman, or I don't know, somebody that Carson Wentz is going to talk to in the organization, I don't know, Press Taylor isn't here anymore, so he's not going to text Carson on behalf of the Eagles. But if Carson wants to go elsewhere, he's going to have to want to. It can't just be anywhere but. It has to be, oh, yeah, no, I definitely wanted to go to Chicago. Then Chicago might say, all right, if he wants to be here, great, we'll throw in that first-round pick. See you later. Give us our guy, and the rest will be history, and they can move on from Mitch Trubisky. But the fact that Chicago is now trying to pull ahead of the Colts, the most important thing I hear out of that, bidding war. If the Bears, if Carson says, oh, yeah, I'd want to go to the Colts. Oh, yeah, I'd want to go to the Bears. I think it kind of puts the Eagles in an interesting spot, the fact that you might have two teams bidding over this quarterback. Where it might not help the Eagles, though, in this regard, is that I think of the two places, the Colts or the Bears, I mean, would you rather play at Soldier Field, or would you rather play at a nice, cushy indoor stadium in Indianapolis? I'll take the indoor stadium in Indianapolis. Oh, yeah, and the coach that used to coach me here in Philadelphia. So, as I've been saying, as much as it hurts my lips when these words pass through my lips, as I've been saying, Howie right now is doing the right thing. It doesn't aggravate me as much as it did maybe at the beginning of last week, the fact that we're still in this holding pattern with Carson. But these stories are starting to come out about teams really wanting him, whether it's the Colts last week from Ron Jaworski or it's Albert Breer this time around saying that, in fact, it is the Bears now pulling in front of this race, saying, no, we want Carson, but we want to make sure that he actually wants to be traded. So a moment of truth is right around the corner for Carson Wentz. If, say, the Bears are right there on the table saying, if he wants to come here, we have that first-round pick on the table, and the Colts are just stopping at maybe 2 seconds, if that's the case, then the moment of truth could be there for Carson, where he has the opportunity to get out, but he might think to himself, okay, is the grass always greener on the other side? Because sometimes it's not. Maybe he ends up sticking around here. I still think 90%, 99% that he's gone, that he's not back. But that moment of truth is coming. And when that faces you, when you're staring that dead in the eyes, it can make you make a different decision than you would expect. So we'll see what happens as we've been saying throughout this whole process. But the bottom line is Carson won't be here next year. I still think very much that he is gone. By the way, Valentine's Day just happened. And we got a great story for Valentine's Day, by the way. This woman is savage. I will say that. If you haven't seen this yet, a woman got a guy a gift that I would consider in today's social media age the most savage gift you could possibly give. So we'll get to that. But forget about savage for a second. How about great gift? For Valentine's Day, I hope you went with the gold dip rose. Shout out, by the way, to my my uncle-in-law, Uncle Mike in Idaho, who purchased a Steven Singer rose. How about that, Uncle Mike? Good for you. Katie loves it, I'm sure. Yeah, he just ordered one out there in Idaho. They shipped it right out to him, man. That's how it works. But they're not just there for roses, folks. They're beautiful. They're obviously great. But Steven Singer is the jewelry man of Philadelphia. He's the guy you got to go to. He's the guy I got my wedding bands at, my wife's engagement ring. I've been going to Steven Singer for over 15 years now. There's nobody I would trust more when it comes to diamonds, when it comes to jewelry, when it comes to customer service overall, and how they treat you when you walk through the door. Walk through the door? Yes, of course. Right now they are taking customers, and they've been doing that throughout this time, this unprecedented time that we're still in. They got their appointment scheduler on IHateStevenSinger.com, so you make your appointment on there. You walk into a non-crowded store. You feel like you own the place. You sit down with one of their jewelry experts, and they take care of you to the point of giving you the perfect price every single time. You walk in, you don't got to worry about negotiating or haggling or anything like that. There you go. They just give you the perfect price. Steven likes to say that he's like Tiffany's and Walmart. If they had a baby, that'd be Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. Well, it feels a lot like that because, again, you know you're getting great value for a great product. Do what I do. Go to IHateStevenSinger.com or go and visit him at the other corner of 8th and Walnut, and all his jewelry experts will be standing by to take care of you. IHateStevenSinger.com. All right, without further ado, it is Tuesday, and we like to refer to Tuesday here on the Farzy Show as HUGHSDAY with our good friend Hugh Douglas III, and he joins us right now on the Zados Investments guest line. And there is our man on this happy HUGHSDAY, Hugh Douglas himself. What's up, brother? How you doing?
What's going on, Marc Farzetta? How you doing today, man?
I'm doing fantastic. Now, before we do anything, let's talk about your shirt for a second. Kenny Justice, a friend of ours here in Philadelphia. We know him as Kenny. You know him as Kenny from the Dirty 30. We just know him as Kenny, and he's a great guy. 2 beautiful kids, wonderful wife, and he is in search for a kidney. And I see you've got the shirt there.
Yeah, Kenny sent me a shirt a while ago. And I was like, you know what? Since I'm going to Philadelphia, like via Skype or whatever it is, the platform that we're on.
Yeah.
I got to represent for Kenny, man. He sent me a T-shirt a couple weeks ago, and I know he's looking for a kidney. Kenny, I don't know if you got one yet, but if you haven't, I'm here to show support. And anybody in Philadelphia, if you got a kidney, give it to Kenny. Just give your kidney up to Kenny. He needs
No, absolutely. He's a great guy. It's a great cause, and good for you, my friend, for wearing that for our friend Kenny. I'll sport mine eventually, I promise. Now, jump to some other things here that go. Oh, by the way, Kenny also has some Facebook pages established as well, so you can check him out on Facebook, Kenny Justice, or you can also check out Kidneys for Kenny as well. So, Hugh, there's something I wanted to jump to with you real quick because we've heard stories in the past about Jason Kelce possibly contemplating retirement.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't know if you saw it, but he was on with Chris Long recently, that podcast, and he came out and he was what's that?
I said that was a great podcast, by the way. Chris Long, because he's allowed to curse. Like cursing is big on podcasts nowadays. You know, like unless you get your real feelings out, you know, he curses a little bit.
Oh yeah, it lets people know where you're coming from. Absolutely. But one of the things that he said was he was asked, what are you worried about right now? And he said, retirement. It was the first time you really heard Jason Kelce himself talk about it. It wasn't a report. It wasn't something you read. It was him talking about it. If just that is on his mind as a former player, what does that mean to you?
Man, like I remember when I retired. Well, I was forced to retire because I was hurt. But man, it's like, what are you gonna do now? Because a lot of times, as a former athlete, you're tied to your identity as an athlete for a lot of guys, and it's hard for guys to adjust. But the fortunate thing for me, even though I did go through a little bit of that, I kind of knew that there was life after football. I had been preparing myself for life after football coming from a small school because I didn't know how long I was going to play in the NFL. And I got 10 years in, so that was a blessing. Wanted to play more, but I only got 10 years in, so I kind of knew that I wanted to do something else. And I also got to give a shout out to Derek Boyko, because Derek Boyko kind of steered me in the realm of getting in the radio. I don't know if you remember this, Marc Farzetta, but when we met, when Howard Eskin got in trouble, shout out to Howard Eskin as well. He got in trouble for, I forgot what he got in trouble for, and he got suspended during the course of the week. And I remember Derek Boyko called me and said, hey, man, you know, Howard got suspended, and they're looking for people to fill in. And I think you would do a great job of filling in for him. And I got on the air, you know, I forgot who I was working with. And I remember it was Mark Rayfield and Tom Lee at the time. After I did it, they was like, hey, man, you know, you could do this. And I was like, man, whatever. You know, I'm trying to play football. You know, I ain't thinking about that, right? Yeah, I'm not. So I remember that. And it ties into where I'm going as far as retiring, because then I got cut. Like a couple months later, got cut from the Philadelphia Eagles. And I was just sitting there. And I remember my wife at the time, we were talking, and she's like, what are you going to do? I was like, I don't know. I just never thought about it. I didn't know what direction I was going to go in. And I remember Howard Eskin giving me a call. And you know, in Howard Eskin's way, he said, hey, genius, you know, if you want to do radio, we can set you up a radio here in Philadelphia if you're willing to move back. So, you know, at the time, living in Atlanta, I was like, man, it's, you know, I never thought about just living in Philadelphia full time. And then I was like, well, what am I going to do? Like, what am I going to do? So I gave myself a week to think about it. I gave myself a week to figure out what I want to do. And, you know, we packed up and said, you know what, we're going back to Philadelphia. And the rest is history.
And then you became an ambassador to the team, and then a radio superstar.
And then we started doing wing bowl qualifying events, and that's when the legend was born.
I'll never forget hosting that first qualifier at, I think it was New Deck Tavern on Penn/Drexel's campus. And you just walked in and you're like, hey, what's up? Let's party. And I was like, I didn't know you were doing these events. And you're like, I am now. Let's party.
Hey, we had some good times doing radio in Philadelphia, man. I mean, just to cut my teeth in Philadelphia, and, you know, the gracious fans of Philadelphia radio that didn't kill me when I used to get on there and just didn't know what the hell I was talking about, had to learn it, but they were very gracious. And that's why I always felt, man, if you can work in Philadelphia on any level, you can work anywhere. Because the fans are brutal. They're brutal, but I love them to death. But they're
now, obviously, you had made a great career for yourself. You're doing just fine and dandy down there in Atlanta, obviously, with 92.9 The Game.
Yes.
92.9 The Game, doing the mornings down there. So you had a path picked out kind of thing. So I guess what you're saying is if Jason Kelce has kind of a path picked out for himself, it'll make it easier for him to make that transition.
I think it will. I mean, you know, you have some guys. I look at my Instagram feed, and I follow a lot of my old teammates. You know, Brian Westbrook is doing well in his field. I look at Trent Cole. Trent Cole's a farmer, you know, and that's a passion of his. Like I don't know what he's farming, but I know he's a farmer. And up north somewhere, he's a farmer. And
wow.
It's like, and I know Trey Thomas, he just started coaching at IMG Academy. So it's like you gotta kind of find your passion. You got to kind of find what you want to do, and you got to kind of, you know, probably start doing that before you retire, because it makes it a little bit easier. But when football is your sole identity, it makes it tough when you retire, man, because like we used to say all the time, you don't hear the crowd anymore. So it's one of those things when nobody's cheering for you, that could be a tough pill to swallow for some guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and obviously we love Jason Kelce in this city, the parade. For the parade alone, if it's not just for the Super Bowl, for the
outfit was, listen, man, like I was never prouder. Like I made that trip to Philadelphia.
Right.
And I was never prouder to see the city turn out the way that it did, and him wear that outfit and them get the accolades that they deserve, because it was a wonderful thing to see, man. Wish we could have did it, didn't do it, but they did it. Shout out to them.
What would you have worn? What would Hugh Douglas have worn to a Super Bowl parade with the Hugh Douglas, Donovan McNabb, Trey Thomas Eagles?
As drunk as I probably would have been, I'd have been out there shirtless. I probably took my shirt off in 0-degree weather, whatever the weather was going to be.
Yeah.
And I would have just probably been, crying like a little baby. You know what I mean? Who knows, man? Who knows? Because that's one of those things that when you finally make it to the Super Bowl and you're close to winning it, but you don't, you just never know. You just never know. A lot of people are giving Tom Brady, I don't know why, flack for being drunk and throwing the Lombardi trophy. I actually saw the lady that the relatives of the Lombardi that made the Lombardi trophy. She had attitude. She was mad because she felt like the trophy was being disrespected.
Oh, come on.
Marc Farzetta. If I won 7 damn Super Bowls, if I won 7, and you're gonna get on me about acting a fool with 1, I'll take that. I'll take that all day. I'll take it all day.
My feeling was, first off, we need to have a boat parade on the Schuylkill. Second, we need to, if Tom Brady could do that because he has 6 other Lombardi trophies to do that with.
Exactly. But the Schuylkill, though, I don't know, because if the trophy would have fell in the Schuylkill, you might dredge up a dead body or something. I don't know about all that.
Either that or it just disintegrate the minute it hit the water. Hugh, I also want to ask you this. So we're a little concerned about Jason Kelce. He hasn't said he's going to retire. It was just something that was on his mind. But most of the offseason has centered around one person, and that's Howie Roseman and his decisions, or the owner's decisions, but really more people are concerned with Howie's role with this team. So I want to ask you this, also from the player's perspective. In your day, I remember hearing stories about how there'd be guys like you, these ginormous human beings who are paid to play professional football and step on the gridiron every week and play football.
Mm-hmm.
And then Joe Banner would walk through the locker room, and it was like guys like you were terrified of this, not exactly an athlete stature of a man walking through. So do you guys talk about what goes on in the front office? Do you guys voice concerns amongst yourselves about what goes on in the front office? Or is that all just business stuff that you let, the higher ups do their job?
You know what? This is 2 parts. When you're younger, if you're from year 2 to 5 and you're playing well, you don't care what's going on upstairs. You don't care at all. But as you get older and you start to see the politics of the game, then you get a little bit more concerned, because now you're starting to look at, like we talked about, positioning yourself for the future, and you want to end your career somewhere. You might be in a situation where you're about to get a new contract, but you don't know if it's going to happen or not, because you don't know what the organization is thinking. It's funny that you mentioned that, because I read a story about Zach Ertz, and he was talking about whether or not he was going to be in Philadelphia and how devastating and traumatized he was for that. Like, look at this guy, man. I mean, he loved the city of Philadelphia. And he's really going through it right now, not knowing where he's going to be. Now, granted, he's going to be okay. I mean, he's going to land on a football team. Mm. But when you've been entrenched in a city like Philadelphia, to think about going somewhere else, I mean, and it's not your doing, that's a tough spot to be in. That's when you start thinking about what management is going to do. And what's funny? I'm starting to hear stories now, a lot of stories, about how people don't like Howie Roseman. And how, one of the things that Carson Wentz is saying, he's talking to everybody else but Howie. Now, at the end of the day, I understand that you don't like Howie, but you have to try to figure that relationship out. You gotta be kind of a stand-up guy. There's people that I don't like. And I try to be a bigger man sometimes and talk to them. Certain people I still don't talk to this day, but still, the point is, you try to be a bigger man in situations like this. I understand he's upset and he feels some kind of way, but I think that he has to look in the mirror a little bit and realize that you didn't play that great this year, and you have to kind of try to mend the fence as best you can, or try to put yourself in the best possible position that you could be in.
Mm. Bottom line, do you still think, just real quick, do you still think Carson plays somewhere else next year?
I think he does.
I agree. And I also, I will say, I think Zach Ertz is done here in Philly. I think he's somewhere else next year as well.
It's tough, man. When you talk about breaking the band up and those guys, and you look back a few years ago and how great that team was. And see, this is the turnover for Philadelphia right now, especially if you're talking about Jalen Hurts being your quarterback. Because I'm not going to lie, Mark, I haven't seen enough of Jalen Hurts to feel comfortable saying that he's the starter. Now, he might end up being the starter, but I've always said it takes at least 4 games to see what a quarterback has. And you started to see him struggle a little bit in those last couple games. So coming into this season, I mean, I heard that, I read a story that he started working with the young receivers and they're going to try to timing and everything down. But dude, it's different when you got that pressure and that heat on you. And then guys are disguising coverages and everything on the back end. You got to be a student of the game. And I just wholeheartedly believe when you become a quarterback in the NFL, more so than any other position, that is a lifetime commitment. As long as you're on an NFL roster, you have to constantly evolve as a quarterback, and you have to constantly get better because guys are watching film. Defensive coordinators are watching film on you, and they're always trying to pick apart your game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what everyone's trying to catch up to. Really, the league tries to catch up to every quarterback that's out there, especially if you have one of them great starts, so to speak. So I want to ask you about this as well. Away from the gridiron for a second, I want to talk to you a little bit about basketball because I know you're a man for all season.
Oh, yeah.
The NBA All-Star Game is happening. It's happening in Atlanta. They've finalized some more plans with players and families staying in the same hotel in Atlanta, similar to the bubble in Orlando. Is it March 7th is the All-Star Game in Atlanta? Is Atlanta excited about this at all? Because the players don't even seem excited.
I'm not excited about it because you know what I call special gatherings like that and big events. You know what I call those?
What?
Super spreader events. They're called super spreaders.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
Talk about the city of Atlanta that has been open. I mean, there's been a lot of COVID cases down here. I don't know what the exact numbers are right now. I'm not going to sit here and somebody see this podcast and they text you and say, well, you know what? Hugh Douglas is wrong. The COVID numbers are yada. We're not going to do that. But
right.
It's out there.
Yeah.
David, we're talking about doubling, tripling masks. And we still haven't got everybody vaccinated. But guess what? Let's have an all-star game in Atlanta because it's always open. All the restaurants are open. Why not? Might as well.
That it's incredible to me. It is absolutely incredible in a bad way. And you look at Major League Baseball, and albeit they only played 60 games, but you still could have had an All-Star game. The NHL said, you know what? Don't even look at us till 2022. No All-Star game. What's that? Yeah, exactly. And the Pro Bowl was like, the hell with it. We're playing video games. That's going to be our Pro Bowl. Yeah, so that's really what it comes down to, right? TNT and the NBA's contract.
Yes, and you know what, Mark? The unfortunate thing about it is that even though fans are not going to be at the All-Star game, they're going to have All-Star parties. They're going to have All-Star get-togethers.
Oof.
And that's the problem right there. I mean, the windfall of revenue for the small business. Listen, everybody's out there trying to make it nowadays. We're in a pandemic and everybody's struggling. I get all of that. But, man, I mean, it's a lot. But guess who won't be at the All-Star game?
Hugh Douglas.
This guy.
Couple more for you, brother. Are you getting excited for baseball? You were talking about it a little bit. Little excitement?
A little bit, because you know what's funny? I was looking at the standings. We're getting ready for baseball season, that transition. And right now, I think in the NL East, the Braves are like the 3rd or 4th projected best team.
Oof. And
I'm like, wow. So we're going to chop it up in the morning. We're going to chop it up tomorrow to talk about how or why Atlanta Braves aren't getting that respect. I understand everybody else is made some moves and, everybody got the big payrolls, and Atlanta doesn't have that. But it's just very interesting that the NL East, the guys that came out of the NL East, they're like the 3rd or 4th projected team. They're just like one up from the Rays or something. They're almost in the basement. So it's like, it's kind of interesting to see it's like that.
Mm-hmm. As they say, that is baseball. Like I said, a couple more things. One other thing away from sports in general here. I've seen you on Twitter taking a lot of heat for steaks that you made. I mean, I don't know you as a cook, but you had made some steaks and people were giving you flack for it.
I made them in the air fryer, and I guess some food snobs out there got mad at the condition of my steaks. I got to tell you, Mark, I don't need pretty food. Food, it just tastes good. I don't need it to be. I'm not about the presentation. You see some people that when they post on the Twitter and the Instagram, they have these little pretty little plates and all this stuff. I need meat. I wanted the meat. The meat was cooked right, the way that I liked it. That's all that mattered. But food snobs on the Twitter, they were mad because it looks dry. It wasn't dry, people. It was made in the air fryer. air fryer, the texture is going to be a little bit different because I cooked it with just olive oil and seasoning. That's it.
Okay. Was there garlic on that? Was there onions?
I put a little garlic, put a little garlic butter,
That's what I
garlic butter.
Oh, okay. Because that to me looked tasty.
It was tender though. That's all. Listen, Mark, I've made steaks before, and they were chewy. That was the first steak that I've ever made that was tender. Now give me about 10 more tries in the air fryer. It was the first time that I did it. So give me 10 more steaks, and they'll look better.
Yeah.
But that was the first one. And for all you, the ladies, listen, I'm cooking for me. Like, if you're mad about my presentation, you're more than welcome to put together your best gourmet meal.
And send to you.
It's all going. Listen, Mark, it's all going to the same place, so it don't really matter at the end of the day.
You're a bottom line guy, my friend. That's what I like about you.
Don't matter.
Yeah, I think the professional term is plating. The plating is the presentation, and that's where you get them extra points.
Who cares about that? This is not Shea Hughes. This is Caveman Central. I ain't even Shea. Look at this beard. What are you talking about? And you want me to fit my food in a pretty way? Go on with that.
By the way, speaking of Twitter, people often reference after HUGHSDAY the Kimbo Slice type of vibe.
I don't know why. Dude, listen, my kids tell me all the time, Dad, you need to shave it or trim it up. For what? This is a good look for me.
You look great. I think you look like $1 million.
The only thing I do is I keep it. I get the beard cream in it, Mark, and I put the beard cream in it, and I just let it go.
I'll just let it go. I just won't shave. That's what I'll do.
Like a little Grizzly Adams. We just look like two mountain men. We just look like mountain men, whatever.
Absolutely. Hugh, it's always a pleasure catching up with you, my friend. Again, Kenneth Justice, I believe he is on Facebook. Look him up. Kidneys for Kenny. He's looking for a kidney. It's very good of you to wear that shirt.
Yes.
All right. Hugh, always great catching up with you, brother. Look forward to talking to you next week. Happy HUGHSDAY to you, as always.
Happy. Have a great day, Marc Farzetta.
Hugh Lamont Douglas III. Thank you so much.
Peace.
Thanks again to our good friend Hugh Lamont Douglas III joining us there on the Zados Investments guest line. And I don't put it past him even a little bit to go topless at the parade if he, Donovan, Trey, and, those Eagles, Terrell Owens, those guys won a Super Bowl. And Brian Dawkins, if they won a Super Bowl here, I would fully expect Hugh Douglas to be topless at the Art Museum steps, assuming that's where they would have it as well. But thanks to you for jumping on with us there. Coming up in a minute, we have a little bit more of Ben Simmons for you to hear. He 12 for 13 from the line last night. I think I said earlier it was 11 for 12. 12 for 13 at the line. And we have our social media check-in coming up in just a second, plus our morning rush and big bets. Big bet segment. I will say I'll be modest. That's how I'll tease it. So we'll get to that in just a second. But let me tell you, speaking of big bets, here's who I make my big bets with: the great people of DraftKings. You see him advertising during the game last night. It's a lot of fun to bet on DraftKings. And the madness that March usually brings isn't quite upon us just yet. But DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is giving all new customers the chance to win $100. New customers can bet $1 on any team to just hit a three-pointer in any basketball game this week. And if your team makes it rain, you make it rain some cash, $100. It only takes one three-pointer being hit by your chosen team to turn $1 into $100. Sounds like a no-brainer. Because it is a no-brainer. This slam dunk of an offer won't be around forever, so make sure you head to the App Store, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, and get in on all the action that DraftKings has to offer. Make sure you use promo code Farzy, by the way. And if basketball isn't your thing, DraftKings Sportsbook has daily odds on hockey, soccer, and so much more. DraftKings has paid out over $7 billion to its customers since 2012, so they know a thing or two about big paydays. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code Farzy to get your shot to turn $1 into $100 when you bet on any team to hit a three-pointer in any basketball game this week. That's promo code Farzy for new customers to get a shot at turning $100, or 100 to 1 odds. That's your shot at that. Good luck to you. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. What a great promo they're running for you this week, folks. Use promo code Farzy. Must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply in partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. Winnings pay out in 4 $25 free bets. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. And how about our good friends at Steak and Maine? My man Tony Cavada at Steak and Maine. Fine dining in the heart of Northeast Maryland. Whether you dine in a more upscale steakhouse or casual bar and patio, you will enjoy the highest quality prime meats, fresh seafood, world-class oyster bar. Who doesn't love a great oyster bar? I love oysters. And freshly prepared sushi. All that and an extensive wine list, including their own Cavada wine cellar. It's just fantastic. Open every day for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch as well. Steak and Maine in Northeast Maryland, voted #1 place for steaks in America. #1 place for steaks in America by the Travel Channel and the Cooking Channel. Check it out for yourself. Go to steakandmaine.com. And you've been following our social media. Our friends at Sky Motor Cars are hooking us up with some great giveaways. They've been doing it really throughout the 3 weeks of the show so far. We really appreciate from Sky Motor Cars. A little bit more information on them. First off, again, thank you to Sky Motor Cars for taking care of us that way and taking care of you with some great giveaways. Sky Motor Cars is the premier luxury car dealership in the greater Philadelphia area that promises to provide the honest and efficient service that you need, whether you're buying, selling, or trading in your car. But Sky Motor Cars, not just for luxury vehicles. No. They got something for every budget. That's how advanced their inventory is. So stay tuned for those special giveaways. We'll have more of those coming up from Sky Motor Cars and their partner, Carson Wentz, as well. Go to SkyMotorCars.com to learn more. And when you buy or sell your next vehicle, use Sky Motor Cars and tell them Marc Farzetta sent you. Earlier in the show, before we get to our social media check-in, I just want you to hear this one more time. This is I meant to hit this for you earlier. Ben Simmons talked about his mentality, and we played that for you about how he's trying to grow that part of his game. Well, that also plays into our social media check-in that we'll get to in just a second. But wouldn't you know it? Rudy Gobert ends up matching up against Ben Simmons in last night's game. But Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert. You know who I'm talking about. $200 million man, Rudy Gobert. Well, Doc Rivers played a little chess last night, put Mike Scott in the starting lineup, which made Rudy Gobert actually have to cover Ben Simmons for the matchup purpose, which Ben Simmons apparently loved seeing. Ben Simmons, obviously, offensively speaking, how weird is it we say this? Well, offensively speaking, Ben was great last night, but his defense was lacking. And yeah, defense certainly needed a little bit of an uptick, and he admitted that after the game, saying that he wished he played better that way. But offensively speaking, he made it happen, and he was quite happy to see that the man that matched up against him was Rudy Gobert. Take a listen to Ben Simmons and, his confidence going into last night's game.
I love when I saw Rudy's guarding me. I mean, I love being able to go at somebody like that. Yeah, I felt like it was a little bit of disrespect putting him on me, but it is what it is.
Disrespect, Rudy Gobert, Defensive Player of the Year, going up against Ben Simmons. Disrespect. I can see why. I mean, Ben's a better athlete. He could get around him without a problem if he's coming out to guard him on the perimeter in particular, which I don't know why you would if you're Rudy Gobert. But Ben Simmons took full advantage of every ounce of that last night. And quite frankly, you love to see it. Obviously, I wish it was in a winning effort, but it wasn't. So we'll gripe about that. But something interesting from last night, Ben Simmons also one rebound shy of a triple-double, 9 rebounds on the night, 12 assists, and 40-plus points. First Sixer to do that by since Allen Iverson did it. So there you go. Our social media check-in does tie back into last night's game as well. And this comes from our friend Jake. And Jake, you're exactly right. Where has Danny Green been? And this is what bothers me. I was having an argument with my 14-year-old nephew about Danny Green being added to the Sixers and how I was excited about it. And I was like, you get another shooter in this offense. It's exactly what you need. And he was like, Danny Green's not a shooter. And I'm like, yes, he is. And I think he is a shooter. He's not that good right now, unfortunately. And Danny Green can't go through a stretch on this team, especially if you're going to be missing Ben Simmons. Especially if you're going to be playing on the West Coast, especially if you're going to be missing Joel Embiid. Danny Green can't have a game where he scores 3 points. And Jake hit me up on Twitter last night saying, is it just me or has Danny Green lost his range? Jake, it ain't just you. It's all of us. Danny Green has lost his range. Now, should this be that much of a shock? No. Going into last night, Danny Green was shooting the exact same three-point percentage that he had last year as a member of the Lakers. 367 was his shooting percentage last year from three. That's his shooting percentage now from three-point land. So we shouldn't be shocked. But Danny Green can't go through a 4-game stretch where he's only making 4 3-pointers in those 4 games in total. He's got to be part of that inside-out game, especially when you're playing with Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons goes down low. He's got to be there for the kick-out. He had some opportunities last night to hit some clutch threes for you late in that game, and he botched them. Couldn't throw the ball in the ocean, as they say. He can't have a game like that and just have 3 points with no Joel Embiid when he's one of the shooters you're supposed to be relying on. So, yeah, I would like to see a little bit more from Danny Green, and I think we all would. As great as Seth Curry has been, that's as inconsistent, especially coming back from COVID with Seth Curry. As great as he has been, you need that man. Danny Green to step up and at least advance his game to the point where you could rely on him for more than just a 3 or 2 per game. So yeah, it's not just you, Jake. Also, social media check-in. We are asking this question: most frustrated figure in Philadelphia sports, executive, player, coach, whoever it might be. I feel like any question we ask that has to do with has a negative connotation to it. The answer to that, by the way, social media check-in brought to you by Steak and Maine. Any question we ask with a negative connotation, the answer is going to be Howie Roseman. But I don't even know if it's Howie that I'm frustrated with anymore at this point. Because to have frustration would mean that you would have a greater expectation. So the person I'm actually frustrated with is Jeffrey Lurie for not cleaning house when he had an opportunity to clean house. I know that Doug probably made it easy for him, saying that, hey, I want Press Taylor to be my offensive second in command. Yeah, no thanks. But when it comes to Howie, I'm just angry at the job he's doing. Frustrated has to do with a greater expectation, I feel. You're frustrated because I know you can be better. I think Jeffrey Lurie can be better. I don't think Howie Roseman can be better. But I'm going to make this bold prediction. Even though it's going to be the end-all, be-all of Howie botching a pick in Carson Wentz, but then they traded up, gave up a lot to get him, I feel like fans are going to like the return they're going to get for Carson. I think they're going to end up getting a first-round pick, and I think that's what this whole waiting game is about. And if Carson just says the magic words, "Oh, I love Chicago," then I think the Eagles get that first-round pick from the Chicago Bears. But I think it's going to surprise a lot of people that Howie is good at some aspects of his job. And when we talked to Dave Zangaro about this yesterday, he highlighted that as well, saying this is the part of the job that Howie's good at, the trading part. Not so much the drafting. The drafting is what kills him. If you're grading him, that's the worst grade right there that brings his whole grade point average down as a general manager. But when it comes to the trades and it comes to working the cap, I think Howie's going to rework that cap rather nicely this offseason. When it comes to the draft, obviously, a horrible failure. But when it comes to what they're going to get back in return, I think fans are going to like what they get back. I still don't think that they're going to all of a sudden be like, oh, look what Howie did. Great. Because you still got to make the picks. But in terms of just seeing it on paper, what they'll get back, I feel like we're going to like what we have to see, what they have to show us, rather, coming out of the Eagles front office. But yes, Howie, I understand most people will go frustrated. I'm not frustrated with him anymore because I don't have that greater expectation. I know what to expect from Howie. So I'm not going to – it's insanity to do. It's insanity to think something more of what he's going to do. So we'll talk about that a little bit more as the trade rumors continue. Also, a social media check-in last night, just people asking the same question. Ben Simmons, where is this on a nightly basis? He can't do it with Joel Embiid in the lineup. The only thing he can do is the best part of his game from last night, which is 12 of 13 from the free throw line. Now, I'll take that every single night from Ben Simmons. That's a social media check-in brought to you by our good friends at Steak and Maine. Now it's time for the Morning Rush. Everything you need to know before you get to the office today or before you settle in for your work day. The Morning Rush is brought to you by our friends at Sky Motorcars. So much to get to here in this part of the show. First off, very happy to report this. I've been keeping a close eye on this. Britt Reed, who was involved in the car accident before the Super Bowl, it was the week leading up to the Super Bowl in Kansas City. It left a 5-year-old girl in a coma. Well, I'm happy to say that Ariel Gold woke up from her coma. A little 5-year-old Ariel Gold woke up from her coma, according to the family's GoFundMe page for her medical bills. She finally woke up from her coma, so that's a great sign. Very happy to see that. And hopefully this is nothing but the first piece of continued good news for her and her family. And by the way, according to her aunt, who I think has been controlling the GoFundMe page, $500,000 has been raised to help cover her medical expenses. So continued recovery to that little lady, 5-year-old Ariel Gold. Good luck to her and her family. God bless you guys. Also, some happier news as well. Congratulations to Flyers captain Claude Giroux and his wife Ryan, who announced they're having another kid, their second kid, another boy who's going to be the little brother to their son Gavin, who I believe is around a year and a half years old as well. So congratulations to Claude Giroux and the Giroux family right there. We mentioned Ben Simmons. I want to make sure I get this number correct because this is a fascinating number here. According to Josh Schrager, who is the producer for the basketball games, the director for the basketball games here in Philadelphia with the NBC Sports Philadelphia, Ben Simmons, 42 points, 12 assists, 9 rebounds, second Sixer to ever do that in a game. Second Sixer to ever do that in a game since Wilt Chamberlain did it. March 18th, 1968. How about that? Those are some fun numbers from Ben Simmons. Continues to put those numbers together. And I didn't realize this. I mentioned the 40 points. They showed this on the postgame show last night. 40 points, 10 and at least 10 assists by a 76er. Allen Iverson did that 10 times. He's got the most all time for the Sixers. Ben Simmons doing it last night. It was the first time he had ever had a 40-point game with at least 10 assists. So it was the first time he did that. Wilt Chamberlain also had a game like that as well. 3 games like that, if I'm not mistaken. So Ben Simmons jumps there on that very, very elite list. So good to see that from Ben Simmons last night. Earlier, we mentioned the Bears, of course, are most interested in Carson Wentz right now. Could possibly be the top suitor. Just waiting to hear if Carson Wentz wants to go there or not. So we'll see how all that shakes out. I mentioned this at the top of the show as well, a savage Valentine's Day gift. Fellas, you got to be careful. Social media, you're on your phone, you're scrolling, your girl's next to you, you're looking at Instagram models, whatever it might be, and then you might catch a look like, excuse me, who's that? Right, something like that, right? Well, this woman took it to the next level. For Valentine's Day, and I wish I knew where this was. I don't know where they're from and what the deal is, but the woman posted a video. It's a quick video, so I'm not going to show it to you, but it's easily described. It's a bunch of pictures in a bouquet. She put pictures on like little sticks of women's Instagram photos who her boyfriend liked, who her boyfriend hearted, double tapped on the old Insta. So she got about 7 to 10 pictures and put them on sticks, put them in a bouquet type form, and gave them to her boyfriend saying, Happy Valentine's Day. And he goes, what? And it was all the pictures of these fine looking ladies that he liked on Instagram. Savage move. I will say she presented the gift to him in a lighthearted fashion. Like she's laughing in the video. But that's a pretty savage move right there. For you ladies out there, I don't want to give you any ideas, but I will say this. I think most women will consider that woman a pioneer. Because I know the ladies don't like it when you're creeping. When you're creeping, the ladies are looking at it and you're looking at you and they're judging you at the same time. They're like, yeah, all right. Yeah, you like that? Yeah, guess what? You won't be getting the real thing for a while. That'll be a problem. That'll be a problem. But it looks like it was all lighthearted fun in that. But I know some women wouldn't exactly present it in the lighthearted fashion that it was. But check that story. I think I saw it on Bro Bible. I think that's what had it there on Instagram. So check that one out. Got to get some big bets. So last night, big bets brought to you by DraftKings. I got to thank Joel Embiid because Joel Embiid forced me to make 2 bets last night. 2 bets. I said yesterday, if the Sixers don't have Joel Embiid at minus, I think going into it, I think it was minus 7.5. The Jazz were minus 7.5. So Sixers were plus 7.5. Without Joel Embiid, I liked the Jazz covering that line. I said it yesterday that I was going to feel dirty if I bet the Jazz against the Sixers. So I waited and I waited and I waited. There was some reports, obviously, that he was going to be a game-time decision. There was a report that came out that said Joel Embiid was going to play. I was texting with some of my friends, and I was like, if he's playing, get out of it. Don't bet it. Don't bet it. And sure enough, he ended up not playing. And as soon as I saw the news that he wasn't playing, I jumped. Now, here's the deal. I jumped on it because I told you that I was going to bet the game. So I threw like $5 on the game for Joel Embiid playing that the Nuggets would cover. Then all of a sudden he didn't play. So I put $20 more down on the game, doubling down more or less on myself, saying that the Jazz were still going to be able to cover that. They did, made the bet, $25 bet. So I made some money for myself on DraftKings. But in the midst of me making that $5 bet, I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and ride the Cavs again, because the Cavs have been playing some pretty terrible basketball. Steph Curry has been getting hot out there, as per usual, for the Golden State Warriors. I like betting against the Cavs on the road against Golden State, even though the Warriors were at plus 9.5. So I went ahead and I picked up the Warriors. They crushed the Cavs again last night. So I ended up making in total 3 bets last night, 2 extra ones because Joel Embiid was going to play, then wasn't playing. So thank you, JoJo. Thank you so much for making me a couple of extra bucks. It did help. A couple of things helped the sting from the Sixers losing to the team with the NBA's best record in the Utah Jazz. One, obviously, was Ben Simmons. One was Tobias Harris. And the other was the fact that I made some money last night, thanks to the great people at DraftKings. And thank you to Joel Embiid. And how about this? The Sixers, I think that's going to be our last late game for a while. 7:30 coming up, I believe, Thursday night against the Houston Rockets. So I'm very happy to say that game is this game last night was the last late game for quite some time. I hope. I got to recheck the schedule, but I was just thinking about that as I was up late last night, knowing I was going to get up with all you fine people today. Also, pitchers and catchers have reported to Clearwater, Florida. They're going to be doing that today. First workout tomorrow. So baseball will be underway before we know it. As far as big bets tonight, hey, I won 3 times last night. So this is what I'm going to do. A little moderation for myself. I'm going to practice a little moderation. I'm abstaining for tonight. I now have 6 bets in a row that I've hit on. So I'm feeling pretty hot. And when you get cocky is when you make mistakes. So I'm not going to make that mistake tonight. But if you're going to jump on some action, plenty of great stuff with our friends at DraftKings. So make sure you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Thanks for joining the show, as you do all the time, and I appreciate it. Appreciate the messages. Appreciate you guys reaching out. Always a blast talking to you guys. Hopefully we'll have another development to talk about tomorrow when it comes to Carson Wentz, and maybe, just maybe, we'll talk about the Flyers. They're playing, I don't know, maybe some hockey in the not too distant future, because I do really miss the Flyers right now. We'll love to see them back on the ice in the not too distant future. Thanks for joining the show, everybody. I'm Marc Farzetta. Thanks for watching and listening to the Farzy Show, available on YouTube, Twitch, social media platforms, and of course you can download the podcast across all podcast platforms. For more info on the show, check us out at FarzyShow.com. My thanks to Jim Hyden for producing the program, and Josh Weinfeld, Buzz Sports and Entertainment. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.